Hello, it's Brian Whitten and ET Art. I did say I would put another video up if in actual fact I found cause to do so, and I have done because there was a few questions that I left unanswered in my last video, and that was the movement of landmass. I did put this video up on my channel in mid-March, and it's only got 100 views. I didn't post this to any public channels, so I did want to just kick this off while I have a chat at the start here and let you know that on this video it showed basically where land masses were going to be moved. In one instance, this was one place, which was Western Australia. I wanted to discuss further some other things that are around the world, more megalithic than a microscopic image on a rock, okay, which was more important as well. It had to be something more substantial. So we'll look at that. What I wanted you to see here when I just look at this is that the reason I've said that this was Western Australia here, this was the Great Australian Bight here, was because there was a swan's head here. I do strongly recommend you go and look at this. Like I said, it's called Cuts in Australia. It doesn't just deal with the Australian continent. That is why I say that that is Western Australia, because it's got a swan's head, and that is the insignia on the flag for Western Australia. So I'll come back to that shortly and show you that. The other thing I wanted to show you was the following. I also, in my last video called Mars and Moon, said that there was a cycle, that the moon itself was going to change and another body was going to come in to our solar system and move within an area where it would drag the moon away into a cycle where it would go in between the fields that we've spoken of. Before I go on, if you're 10 or 12 years old, you probably want to go and get your parents to watch this video. For those of you who've been to the channel before, I won't go over and over and over again. I will assume that you've watched to this point. If you haven't, I strongly suggest the last 6 videos would be at least as far as you need to go back to understand the cycles of the planet, cycles of the moon, and the cycles of Earth. We were supposed to be told the way this is all going to happen. We were supposed to be taught this by the royals and the elites of our world, that they kept it from us. So I will go on with where we are at this point. We know that the moon is cycled in and out of this cycle here, and it cycles the sun. It is not the size of the moon that is creating a field of in the way that it spins now, because it doesn't spin at the moment. Once it does start to spin and it's in line with Earth and in line with the sun, looking at the sun, it'll be directly in line with it, and won't be just that. It'll be these inner 2 planets here and the rotation of that retaining the ability of the moon, because the moon is travelling in this direction towards us here. So I strongly suggest you go and watch that video as well, which is Mars the Moon, because like I said, I don't want to rehash over and over and over what we already have discussed in other videos. So what I wanted to discuss today was that I in actual fact have got other things that I've also found posted to me that would indicate exactly as I was saying here, that the moon is moved out here and in and out, closer the sun and further away the sun. It is the rotation of the moon and the magnetic field that it creates that is protecting us. Okay, so that's what's protecting the equator of Earth, is the rotating fields of magnetism of this moving body here. And because it's small, its speed of rotation allows it to go and intersect between these portions here, which is not what Earth has. Earth does not have this problem. Once it's locked into here, it also will not move. It's going to be locked in. The speed of the moon will allow it to intersect between those portions of the field where it wouldn't normally be able to move. That is one of the lessons we get in the outer ring of rotation of Earth's movement. Those of you who've watched my channel to this point know that we've had to cross into boundaries of race because of the cycles of Earth itself, the manifestations of the mutations of human genome has changed. It's not the same depending on what planet we're on when the event happened that caused the problem. Before I move on from that fact, or that point that we've discussed to this point, there are some amongst you, no doubt there would be, because I've thought it myself. You could think, no, Brian, that situation here could be that you're just getting taught, which is quite possible. I still have this thought process, but I still come back to the original, a galactic event causing the corruption. That the lesson itself, and just purely simply the motions of the planet out and back between the rings of rotation and the way in which it intersects with the planes of rotation, opposing planes of rotation of the sun, because there's anti-clockwise ones that do not affect our planet at the moment, and that's why the megaliths are here. That's to tell us all those things. And before I go on with this matter though, which was Black Lives Matter, I will say that in the process of all of what we have just learnt, it is without doubt there is a cycle, just like it is the one we're going now that says the Northern Europeans, the women cannot ovulate next year. The moon is never close enough. It's a major problem, We've spoken about another body coming in to the solar system, but that didn't cover all the bases, which is why I've made another video. But before I go on with that, I wanted to quietly once again touch on race issue. We are told in the megaliths, and the manner in which they've left, and the manner in which we've been put back on the planet at the end of each start of every cycle and so on, that we've got different problems. In other words, the European races, the one of which I am, had this problem where the rape and murder and eating of a child, or the acquisition of adrenochrome from that process, or whatever it is an acceptable thing, man. I'm telling you, I'm a white man. I would kill anybody trying to do that, and I don't care whether that baby be any colour. Right? So, in the rocks of the story, all of the rocks that I've showed you, I'll install a few here. They're all shapes and sizes, all colours, mixture of colours, and that was never ever in the sequence I saw quite covering all the bases. Just coming in and having one planet here wasn't going to be enough, so I want to show you that. And as far as Black Lives Matter, there is one cycle in our system here, and the whole process here. So I can tell you now, the only people that are on this planet are black. And the only way that happens is because of the way they put us back on the planet. It is obvious, without doubt, there is a cycle where there are no Asians that could breed. The moon is not in the cycle at all. It's a 5,000 year cycle, very similar to the one we've just had. And the only people that I'm seeing that can possibly breed, whose women can ovulate because of the situation that there was no moon, are in actual fact the darker races that were about the south of the equator, technically. Australia, the Australian Aboriginals, I would expect the African tribes, the Sahara Bushmen, the tribes in Central Africa, and so on and so on. I would expect their women do not need the moon at all in the cycle and in the message. So we'll get to that as well. But I just wanted to mention that. So do understand what I think's going on over there. I wish your elders up there would get a hold of your people, as I do the elders in my country, and get a hold of your people and not let the people that have told us lies for Lord knows how long get you boys and girls to be doing stuff you shouldn't be doing. And we'll cater, when I come back to discuss this, the crossbreeds we've had in our own relations here on our current planet, okay? Because that's actually was really concerning me. How mixed races are dealt with was really concerning to me, and I've since seen something that I believe is an answer to that. But really, we've got to not let people like myself, being of a lighter colour, still control you guys. You guys are way smarter than this. And your president, I hope you're listening, President Trump, you need to listen to this, because there's a couple of parts at the end here that are very important in respect planetary motion and satellites and such things. If in actual fact the Elon Musk Starlink satellite system is for the creation of electromagnetic field. It will not work, and I will show you in the sequence where it is without doubt that it tells you. I know that's a little bit blinky, and you get a little bit of a movement backwards and forwards there, but I think it will suffice for what we want to do. And what I want to discuss with you is the movement of the moon. As I showed you in that last diagram, we saw the balloon fields of the sun, and the moon would be travelling in that image towards us like this way. We're now looking down upon the solar system. The sun is furthest to the right, the earth furthest to the left. The moon, I've just drawn the most exterior cycle of the moon around the sun, because that's how it's going to be cycling. This is why the European women cannot breed, because the moon is never as close to Earth as it is now. It is never as close. It is made spin, and it spins opposite than Earth. So if Earth's going to be clockwise, it's going to be clockwise. This is looking down upon the solar system. In turn, Venus will be going anti-clockwise, Mercury going clockwise, and I said the one that's controlling the rotation of Earth is the sun's horizontal field is rotating anti-clockwise, and that works exactly as I said. I will attempt to put a link for you down to my Facebook page. It isn't called ET Art, it's actually called Brian Whitten, and I do have quite a lot of other links, or not necessarily links, just pages where I've replied to myself to a heading. I strongly suggest you go and look at those. There's no watermark on any of my work here, so there should not be anybody paying for knowledge in a university. That should be free to every child on the planet. Every child should know how the planet they're standing on spins around the sun. My God, you have held back from us our life, our history, you bastards. Anyway, this is what's going to go down, and this is going to happen next year. Right now, this problem here that associated with the European races, one of which I am a person whose ancestry is from England, and if it wasn't from there, it was from Scotland, and if it wasn't from there, it was from Ireland. So I've got a pretty good chance of reality of life here, so I fit into this category here. So there was nowhere here that my ancestry would live on in this planet. This is why we've got this inserted image here. Is a great cemeteries. They're around the globe. You'll find them up in the northern European area because they don't have any names on them. What they've got on them is, in actual fact, images very much related to and I must thank Eva for those. I am on a page. I hope you don't mind me showing you those. Like I said, you'll find Eva on my Facebook page. It's Brian Whitten, as I said, and I will put a link below. You can go and look at other images that I've uploaded and explanations. I won't go through them all in this video, but this was the important part. I couldn't see this. Yes, okay, if another body come in, and we were beyond Mars on this other body, or however they were going to do it, as I suggested. It didn't cater for the other people that were crossbred, and that was where I had left this. So I wanted to show you where I wanted to take us from that, because this in actual fact is telling me exactly as I suggested to you, that the sun's anti-clockwise rotation is not on the planet at this point. It's actually, when it does actually hit it, it pulls it up real straight and spins it real fast anti-clockwise as soon as it does, because it's more powerful. That's why the land masses have got to be moved and all such things. I won't go through that, but I will add in areas, given explanations a little bit better so that we all understand what's happening. So first of all, let us know that the mixed races on Earth at the moment, I will show you something which I think you'll find very, very interesting. Now I just wanted to show you this. I will show you on screen here. This is the Planet X system. Maybe larger than we thought, it says here, and I'll just show you. That's Planet X News, and I just wanted to to say this guy's work is unreal. It really is, and I believe all what we're seeing here is real. Okay, and you could say, yeah, it could be a load of rubbish on YouTube, Brian. Yes, well, you can think that, but I want to show you this because I just want to pause that right there. I just thank you guys, man. I'm not kidding. This is unreal. It's very, very important. These are the bodies. This makes sense. This is why I thought it just didn't cater for other people. If I was, you know, a white person and I didn't have the problem, I've got to be put away somewhere where I can't put the problem back where it's a problem. If the problem's a situation where people sit down and eat babies, my God, and that manifests itself through every race, that's the problem. That's what they're saying. The situation is when the races cross like that, the problem crosses, and it's not just that problem. Your problem because of the other people that were on the other planets when the problem happened, they were in different electromagnetic fields, therefore the corruption's different. You have situations where you get giantism. That might seem not a big problem, it's a huge problem in a funny sense, but if you consider that 3/4 of your children are going to be 2 feet higher than you, 3/4 of their children are going to be 2 feet higher than they, and so on, within 50 to 60 years your public amenities would be useless. You couldn't get in a car, the roads would be too skinny to fit a driveway, you couldn't even get in a car, you know. Then you've got those other races and the ones I'm seeing from the other races, the ones that didn't have the moon, are regressive birth, which is why I think your people come back to our planet. Like, I don't mean to be disrespectful, the Aboriginal people in my country here, okay? You guys, do you think your people that came back here to start another cycle came back here from, you know, a society like ours now, this modern? No way, man. They came back from a society way, way, way more modern than ours. I'm not kidding. And why did they come back, and why did they go back then as people in the outback of Australia? Walking around, making a living the way it was before white men got here. Why did they do that? I'll tell you why. It's because they were on another planet and they weren't as advanced. It was the people from this planet, where we come from with that problem, that advanced everybody. We were all advanced. All of us. The white man didn't have this problem. That didn't problem. You didn't have your problem you guys got, and you guys got. What appears to be to me the planet without the moon is this regressive growth where you're giving birth 3 in every 4 to somebody that looks like a Yowie or a Yeti if it's a North American. So this is what happens. So that's what we're getting told. That is a solution that I would suspect, if that's the case and this body's coming across here, there may be the 7 other planets that I told you about that we are being shown. That may be doing what it's doing almost straight away. So in other words, they'll move this back out once it's dragged the moon away, and the other people that are crossbred, not saying to you they're going to drag you out of this earth and put you there. What they're going to say is if you stay, your children and lineage will die out because the moon will not be able to keep you breeding. And that may not be something that goes bang for all of the mixed bloods, but there may be some that it does. And they're the ones that'll say, listen, you guys have got this problem. You're going to have to go here if you want to keep your bloodline going. That's what I think we're going to see here. It's not going to be, kill, kill, bang, bang. It's an education here. This is what we should have been told. Bloody royals. Just before I move away from that image, I will say one thing I would expect, right? Like I said, I wouldn't be thinking you're going to be forced to be leaving Earth to get onto one of those planets and then be able to go beyond to wherever you're allowed to go after that. It's obvious you just can't roll out of Earth and out of our solar system without our ancestors say so. That's the reality here. I wouldn't say that you're forced to go there, but I would say that you're not going to come back to Earth, and why would you? You could choose to, but I would expect if you had working machinery, be it male or female, you will not have it when you come back. That would be pretty clear to me that if you're trying to filter out bloodline or behaviour out of all of the races, wherever you went here, I would think that they'd be trying to separate the races here, but they also do that on Earth as well. So I'll show you why I mean that. This is why I'm saying to you, it's more than one way to skin a cat. There are things I'm getting right. There's things I do not know. There are options. There is without doubt options, and I would have expected far more activity on our Earth's surface now. Now, I did want to bring this immediately to your attention because this was off a Praveen Mohan video again. Once again, I'm sure Praveen wouldn't mind. I'm not saying he agrees with what I'm saying. I'm just merely saying that this is yet another that reflects more than one thing. When Earth is being moved out to the outer ring, which is beyond Mars by about another 40 million miles at 186 million miles from the Sun, it is laid flat on its axis with a pole, the South Pole, in the way that it's going, pointing the Sun for thousands of years. Never ever changes. For 6,000 years. On the way out, there is a 3,000 year cycle. Doesn't matter whether it goes clockwise, spinning anti-clockwise on its axis or clockwise on its axis. It tells you it's the same time. It doesn't change. But I also said that it also reflects, in my opinion, when it's going out. Why is it doing it? There's nobody on the planet. So what's the process and what's the purpose? It's a planetary motion. It's a lesson in planetary motion. The whole cycle of the Earth around the Sun as portrayed in the Megaliths is exactly that. So, and I said, well, this is also reflecting 7 other worlds. It wasn't just this that I believe said the same thing, and that there was one world with a straight axis, another 6 other worlds where varying tilts on the axis to create an electromagnetic field that we were comfortable in without the problem. Are we not seeing the very same thing? I will show you another image. And if we go back to the Hell of a Ride video that I put up in April, I then spoke of the 7 other worlds, of when the Earth is being laid flat, pushed out beyond Mars, the pole that is always pointing towards the Sun remains that way, but in the movement out that meant that there were 7 other worlds. I'm absolutely certain what we're seeing there with the Planet X upload, and thanks mate, like I said again, because you've really reassured me there that we are all looked after, but be aware that once you move, and I would expect that that be an option, I would believe that when the Earth stands straight, the problem the white man had, it switches off just like it switched on. I'm certain that that's what happens. The options are going to be options to go, but no options to come back without being made non-productive. That would be a situation I would expect to be the case. The process is to cleanse human bloodlines in all of us. I would not see an option coming back and being a person that can reproduce, being a thing that can happen. And I will just touch once again on the BLM movement. Guys, I need to show you something. There is a cycle, I said, that is only for you, and I'll show you where it exists. Now, I have gone through this before, but for all of the darker skin races below the equator, we are told does not need a moon. What happens is, where I've got the X here, we have cycles around the Sun, or the planet gets pushed one way and then the other. Well, it's actually this cycle here. 6,000 years ago, the Earth was travelling around the Sun on the inner ring of rotation. I do realise there's far more planets, and we're not the closest to the Sun. This is just showing you the inner ring and the outer ring of rotation in respect to Mars and the Sun. So do not be confused. I do understand there's more planets. This was just for ease of explanation. So we were 6,000 years ago going around the Sun in this direction. It is this cycle here that we've just finished that took 6,000 years that created the very problem that we've got on our planet now in our races, with this perception that that's an acceptable behaviour. It's barbaric beyond every stretch of the imagination. This cycle then puts the planet back to where it cycles around the Sun in an anti-clockwise direction. This is where we're coming back into that point where the planet stands up straight and the Moon is moved in to cycle in line with the Sun, in and out here, as we've already discussed. The cycle that you guys, and I say you guys, is, well, your dark skin race is below the equator and I'm not that, so it's not a racist thing to say you guys. They've got a planet here for you guys. Unreal, which is terrific. I'm stoked. I'm really, really pleased to be able to tell you that, that's for sure. That cycle there that takes us, in the cycle we've had with all of us together, is 6,000 years long. There is a cycle, and I'll show you on Egyptian parchment, the cycle that goes this way for 16,000 years, and that way, that won't change that much. The change of the length is in here, and it is a cycle without the Moon. And I know, and I'll show you how I know it. If we then look at this image here is showing us the 6,000 year cycle back in here. Okay, we know that it's laid flat on its axis for the first 2,000 years. It's how they changed the Earth spinning on its axis. Okay, I won't go into that too far. All I want to do is show you where that cycle exists. This takes 4,000 years, and we know it does. It's pointed out here, each 1,000 years for each one of these sections here, to get us back to the inner ring of rotation. That is telling us that cycle's 4,000 years, but it's 4,000 years when they're coming in here. They're putting the Asian people on here. They can't live here at the start, can't live here at the end. It is only the mid-cycle of that where you see the Asian and the Egyptian people get put back on. Why? Because they're moving back and with the Moon left, with the sequence we've just told you about. The sequence of the Moon hasn't changed. They have to wait until Earth gets close enough here. So in other words, the Asian people have a lesser problem than the Middle Eastern people here in your ability within this 5-month cycle, which is why we're seeing this happen. So it means that really you guys didn't evolve on the same planet here. Neither of them did. So this is why I'm saying we're looking at 7. There had to be far more than 3. There were more cycles being generated here in electromagnetic methods for it only to be 3 planets. That's what I said in my last video, which is why I made this. And it was in doing that and understanding that, understood how they were individualizing the individual issues we were having, because each of the planets, like I said, had very, very different electromagnetic fields when this problem occurred. And that is why I'm saying it's a problem that occurred. It's things like that. They're later on, you know, they've had to wait to put them on. Because if they'd have put them on here, it's a waste of time. They'd have just put them on and they'd have died out, the generation that they left there. So that's what we're being told here, that the Asians really haven't even, they've got the same problem now with the changing facets of the Moon if you're on Earth, but they don't have the same problem as the Egyptians have got, because there's a distance there. So they were on different planets at the point in time. That's one thing I wanted to show you. It is that and this following thing. Okay, coming back now to the parchment, I wanted to show you this is where I believe we're getting told that they're at a given point in time in one of the cycles, the only people on planet Earth, or whatever body it is. I would expect it to be planet Earth, to be honest. I would believe that they're going to protect the planet. and those people on it, not just the planet, to the best of their ability. When we look at, I have shown you here this before, but I mean we come back here and yet we see, I've spoken about what I wanted to talk about was the darker skinned races were getting a cycle on their own on the planet without any other people here. It's ironic that we come back to the parchment to tell you that, to say that there's only one person that isn't of dark skin on this parchment, which is once again more than likely the case, or why it's that way. When we look at these cycles here, and I've gone through this before, I do not want to spend too much time here, we're seeing 22 men along here. That entails 16,000 years and a 6,000 year cycle within each one, which is why it's 22 long. I've gone through the process of explaining the months in the year here, and the 9 months leading up to the crossing of the plane of the sun, which is here, where the water gets used inside the planet to slide the mass of the continents. I won't go into that any further, but to say at the very top of here, the multiple of 44, or 22 and 44, are done by the amount and counting these legs here. You get 44,000 years, 48,000 year cycles. Then you get up to this one, which is 65,000 year cycles. The 65,000 year cycle is not a 6,000 year cycle and a 15,000 year cycle, it's the other way round. This one here is a 5,000 year cycle. It's because the moon is not here. It's not on the Earth. It's not having anything to do with Earth's rotation around the sun here. And this is where you guys, all the darker skinned races, which is why it's like this and why the Earth is, separated the way it was last time with the impacts above Australia to separate the Aboriginal people from the rest of the people. It also hit Central America. I'm not quite sure with Central America, it's a bit tricky, but I did want to just mention to you that without doubt that's what that's saying, and that is also reflected once again on the other. I've already shown you the inserted images here. Once again, the megalithic, or I should say the cemeteries without the names on them. There's no names because there's no ancestors. So that's what happens there. That would without doubt be very, very reflective of what I've said, that there is a 5,000 year cycle. In that 65,000 year cycle, it is solely the people that were below the equator before the white man spread his wings on our planet's surface last time round. I just want to, before I go away from the races of humans on our planet at the moment, because in this cycle we are all in the one planet. That is the one thing that is the case. We were not always like that. I wanted to show you, this is the Sphinx in Egypt. Before it was messed with, before people come along and ruined it, because quite frankly this is exactly how it was intended to look. It's actually got a human face in the middle here, but here you have a profile of an earlier human. So this is stage 1 of the evolution of man. This is stage 2 here, very quite easily visible in his eyes, in his forehead and hair. Stage 2 and then stage 3. That's actually what we're seeing there. It's been destroyed by the people that live there to cover that evolutionary stage of mankind up with myth about being a lion's head or some ridiculous thing. That is an early black and white photo taken in 1930, and once again if I back out you can see how much of it is still covered in sand here. They've only just dug this part out of the sand there. So I once again thank the very people that send me all these things that have helped me, and this may be, I would expect, Donnie. Donnie uploaded this one, and so I don't make any money on my channel. I never ever have. It was never ever something I sought to do. I didn't seek to go and solve the pyramids either. But that's life. But that's, as you can see, it's very, very easy to see. Even the guy's eye carved into that side view on that side. So really we have been manipulated, our history has been covered up. I wanted to show you that because I've seen the very same image of this face here turn into an American Indian on a rock at a microscopic level, and that's why I wanted to put that little bit in for the guys, you know, that are the original people of North America before white man got to your doorstep, as white man got to the one I live in. But I wanted to let you know, and I'm not saying that from any derogatory point of view at all. I'm actually saying it. I'm talking about many, many, many millions of years ago. It was over 60 million years ago. We looked like this. Both you and I were human and looked very much like this. But there is a rock I have that has that face turning into a North American Indian, okay? And there is rocks around the world that show us an evolutionary stage of a hominoid and a reptilian, okay? The hominoid species would appear to have come from what was more of a bird type creature, but we are talking millions and millions of years ago, which is why I said to you that earlier on in the respect to breeding, as a North American, I absolutely think you're actually the same problem as us, okay? I actually think we were on the same planet, and it's seeing that and that being very, very, very early, and initiation of the ability, you know, the ability to move between planets, and the really, really ancient came from there. So I actually wanted to say that to you because you were really, really, really important many, many millions of years ago on the one planet that did kick off, which would appear to be North American Indians and probably what would be the North European races of peoples that we see now, with the problem not being able to breed with the moon, are the other bunch of people that evolved enough to go to the other planets and help the others. Because I can tell you now, this man here, a white man, he was not a bad man. I can tell you now, he populated your world and helped you. And that's why the races of Aboriginal people and the people that come back to start the next civilization, they come back like they do. That's exactly why they do. Exactly why, because they know it was them. And I'm one of these, that North American Indian, and possibly quite a few other races of people in amongst the Asians and Middle Eastern races on the other worlds years ago that really, really stepped up, and they brought us all up, everybody, and billions of people beyond these, billions. That's why this whole sequence has got to be here. Absolutely billions and trillions of people have evolved from this. This is us. This is what we look like 50 to 60 million years ago. They've told us just the changes in rotation of our own planet. Look what it's done and what it could do and what it will do if left unattended. Giantism, you know, all these weird and wonderful births, it would be absolutely traumatic. Absolutely traumatic. We'd all be gone. The whole sequence is here so that we remain like this, but all the people that come from here, I would believe, like I said, have foregone the ability to, you know, breed the way we do on this planet, in this cycle. I think that's what actually happens here. I think when we leave here, we still have that ability, but I'm just saying we are the lucky bunch. I'm not so many other, sure, many other worlds have the ability to be able to breed and reproduce the way we do. I think they actually depend on us quite heavily. So, as I said earlier on in the video, that I would come back and cover landmass moving, and I'm talking large bits of landmass here. I'm talking about half of Australia being cut from the Great Australian Bight to the Gulf of Carpentaria, which is why Ayers Rock is on the very line I would expect they're going to cut along, and that's what they're going to do. If I show you by starting this video again why I say it's Western Australia. It's because it's a swan head here. If you go to do this and want to retrieve the images off rocks, do not go and buy yourself an expensive $1,000 digital bifocal microscope. You need to get one like that. Okay, yeah, they can buy them from China for about $30. You do not see anything on the rocks without that type of instrument. Don't go and buy a big expensive one, because I've done that and I have uploaded a video on here called Light on my ETR channel here. You can go and have a look at that, and on the Light video it shows you both things. I wanted to just show you that again to say that that's what you're actually seeing there. It's actually showing you that this cut coming up from, and I go back, and like I said, this is called Cuts in Australia, this video. I do strongly recommend going and looking at it, because it's not just Australia that I talk of. There's other places on the world all the way through that video. I just had to call it something, so that's what it was. Here we see it again, another cutter, a real big disc spinning through the countryside. Whether they do that way, I mean, it looks like that, and maybe that's once upon a time. Maybe they just do it with lasers these days. We've certainly seen some odd things in the sky of late, that's for sure. I wanted to show you that because that's what the story is. They cut. We're talking about a people here that have rolled our planet. It's our ancestors that have rolled our planet out beyond Mars and back for what appears to be around 65 million years. I won't go into that. I just want you to know that that is what we're seeing there. In this video, it is here where you see it looks more like a swan, and it's where I can see the swan's head, and the swan's head comes over on this side, so I know I'm talking about the Great Australian Bight. And where we're looking, a big cutter flying up the middle of it there, right there. I'll show you something else now. Another more megalithic stone than a microscopic image that reflects the very same story. This is the megalithic rock that I believe has got quite a lot to do with the movement of the landmass of Australia. And like I said, I believe that we are seeing a reflection here of the cut that I told you is just demonstrated straight up at this angle in the Bight. Okay, from the South Ocean. A cutter coming out of the ocean here, straight up this way, just to the right of where we see this V in the bottom of the Gulf. I also say that not because of that it's on the same line of longitude as Uluru. Uluru is on the very same line of longitude as this inserted image, which is actually the event that did put the tilt on the globe, which is why we're all here talking about this for a year and a half or more. But we got to the end here, and we've got the answers here, which is good. A few blues on the way, but that's to be expected. It's being what it means to be human is to make mistakes and fix them up, and Lord knows I've made quite a lot. But I depict this line being the one we've been told is being moved. We're talking months when we're looking across here. We are told we've got to move landmass down and away from the equator. 4 from this side is 4 months. Once this cut goes through to the top of the Gulf, this will move across here and downwards, and this will move across here. I will bring your attention to that being probably the point of rest here is this one, so it's going to move out into the Pacific Ocean towards New Zealand on that side. So the east coast will be a shorter trip to New Zealand. I said to my son the other day, the airfares might be cheaper, or the UFO fares, that's if we're here. So that's what we're seeing here. So we're seeing half the Australian continent move that way, and that's the 6 months. So it's going to take the full period of time. 4 months it's going to be there, but it's also going to drop down here on this side. Okay, so we can expect probably within the 2 to 3 months left that we're going to see the western half of Australia move that way to this line, and then downwards this way. And that looks like that's actually a count of 5 there, so it might be within the 4 months that it moves that way it's moved this far in the 5 months. The same line here to there, and so on. Right, so that line is the same line here. So we're looking at from there to that point, that line to that point on that half. On this side here, I would expect we're being told more, not just the coast and the east coast of Australia here. When we come back here, we've already discussed from this point, there's a 6-month period. We look at this inserted image of this bottom of the parchment that we've already shown you. Down the bottom there's 9 men walking. They are the 9 months leading up to the crossing of the plane, which I still think was the 24th of the 12th. We've sort of gone past this 6-month period here. Down here I want to show you that we've got 6 marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 6th one isn't there, right? I don't believe the 6th one is there because we don't want it to be there. We want to be up there. Okay, we don't want a 6th mark here. What I believe we're seeing here is those 5 months. So here's where we're going to see the moon moved away in this area here, or the movement up. So you can see what I'm saying here is what we're doing here by moving the moon, or moving the land masses, is starting the axis to tilt straighter. That's what this process does. It's not until you actually start putting water inside the planet, which if you look at the second part of that parchment here, where they're carrying ewers, they're talking about putting water inside the planet. It makes it spin faster. Not only that, but then they're going to move the moon away. It's putting the water inside the planet that makes the planet thinks it's lighter. The system thinks it's lighter, it therefore starts to travel faster through space. It therefore starts to lift up further. That's why you're seeing the movement up on this edge here. It's depicting the movement and lifting of the plane of rotation of Earth, so that we don't get that 7,000 kilometres lift, which is what happens there, should we not get that 6 month. So I hope, I'm not 100% certain that all of those bodies are not an alternate plan. If it is, that you do not tell them, you know full well this is going to happen, because I'm absolutely certain you have to open your mouth, and I will talk directly again with President Trump. I'm wasting my time talking to the Prime Minister of my country, so President Trump, I'm urging you to listen very carefully to what I will say in respect planetary motion as depicted by the megaliths, because like I said, sir, I'm not an astrophysicist by any stretch. I'm a computer engineer. That's all I've ever done. I'm just merely pointing out logically here what I'm seeing happen and what we are being told. So that is Australia, and I will show you, sir, North America now. President Trump, this is the rock in the same park, in the same area in Japan, which I also believe depicts your continent, sir, and what's going to happen there. I wanted to bring your attention first of all to this corner. It's very easy to see this triangular point here. This is actually where I've already said they were going in here. They're going to go up the Potomac River to the lakes. That's one of the cuts that's going to go across the... But don't panic, because I've seen also images of you looking at microscopic level. I've already put it up actually on a video. I didn't tell you it was there, but it's there. You can go back on my channel and have a look at a video, my last video. Has you peering at New York being lifted out of the way, sir, so don't worry about that. It's going to be moved out of the way. And the triangle here, because you're doing the right thing, I hope. I worry when I see you at the launch of SpaceX. Space fast. Anyway, we have a triangle here pointing in this way, which is exactly where it's coming in. Here we have the the east coast of your country, sir. Down here is the Gulf, back round this way. Here, that's why it's like that. I can tell you now, it's exactly why it's like that. It's going to move north. That's what I've already said to you in a previous video. That cut and that section there, I bring your attention once again, sir, to 6 months, just like the parchment says, that we get the long line here and then a count of 6 again, just like Australian rock. that we're looking at that being the movement of the North American landmass, and I said to you that we needed a North Pole. There's a North Pole landmass. They're not going to go up there and be useful land. I think what would happen once that's cut there, I've got a friend that lives there. I've got a friend on my YouTube account or my Facebook account who, I know who lives in that area. So I've spoken to her long ago. I've spoken to my Prime Minister long ago. That is what's going to happen there, and that reflects exactly as I've said. It's reflected on the rocks at microscopic level. There we have the same thing. There's massive land mass movals. They are not coming here to kill us, any of us. They're coming here to teach us what we've had hidden from us. So I just wanted to let you know that was a landmass moval, or that we expect to, that is the landmass movements that we can expect there. I would expect for the North American continent, and that's the second thing that we've seen reflect the very same thing as I've shown you in that cuts in Australia. It also shows a polar bear looking down at what I said was an image of North America. So it was looking at going up. If a polar bear is looking down, and here we have the very same thing. And that's what will happen. It'll be a movement upwards, this line here, and a cut through this area, through to the lakes, which is probably why you've got an indentation here in a round area. Said that before. The north here on this side, I've already said the North American continent all the way down through here will be cut. Where that's going to go to, I'll be honest with you, the west coast, I would expect to go there all the way over to here, which is reflecting a movement to Hawaii. I actually think you're going to see rather a large section of the west coast of both North and South America. The stop point for North America will be Hawaii. The stop point for South America will be Easter Island, which is why they're there. And this is just one of many petroglyphs that's in Peru. It is just above the inserted impact, yet again, directly above it. It is showing us directly exactly the same thing, in that they cut the continents. What this is, and what you're looking at here, this portion of this petroglyph going down the centre is a sword. It's actually narrower here and binds out and looks like the sword in the stone. It's what in our mythology in British history, certainly. Here we are seeing trees, the branches, tree and a branch. They're going to cut across the top of the mountain ridges here. That's what that depicts. That's South America. That's what they say they are going to do. I would expect, like I said, the South American west coast to be moved out as far as Easter Island, which is why Easter Island has been put where it was in the first place. Mr. President, before I go on with the planetary motion, I do want to play this just to remind you that this happened to me. I've got this was in my video that I uploaded called a programmable rock. I'm not a silly person, sir. I thought long and hard about doing this. I put this rock under the microscope and these white lines, there's a line over there with a little pyramid in it, end of it, and a loop line there that were on the rock, and I had never seen them before. And I thought, well, I got under here and I had washed this rock and made sure it was clean, that I wasn't looking at any rubbish. And I got up and blew it, as you can see. I've got in front there and blown that, but these lines weren't there. That pyramid line over there was never there. One part of that line was, but not the other part. The pyramid at the end of it wasn't, and nor was the loop line. So I then blew it away and thought, well, there you go. And this happened. I want you to remember that this happened, because this is new. Your guys are good, yes, I know. Some of the good guys are bad, but you can't do this. I want you to watch what happens. You see this line get drawn, and then the delay, and then the other line get drawn over here. They get turned back on again. I've had lines go off and on this rock, which is why I made the video. It's pathetically stupid, I know, but the lines have told me how I've solved problems with the lines appearing. It's not difficult to see that that's happened. We've got a pyramid coming from what is, and this here is the bottom of South Australia again. You know, the Gulf was around there. That's why I made the video. I could see it was South Australia already there. I wanted to show you that before I went on to the planetary motion issues of Starlink satellite. If in actual fact it's a system to stop us getting pulled up very, very rapidly. We'll go over those speeds, sir. President Trump, this is movement of the planet here in the final 34 minutes shown. This is the top of the Earth as a scale model. We're seeing 30 steps here and 4 over there. There's also 4 in the end of this wall here, which goes all the way through there to there. And what this is saying is this line of longitude here in 4 minutes goes from here to here, which is 120,000 miles an hour, sir. We spin at 1,000 miles an hour now, so we die within the first 3 or 4 minutes here because the speed of rotation and straightening of the axis here would kill us straight away. It's 6,600 miles an hour right there. We're seeing upward motions here from here to here in 30 minutes, which is 4,000 miles, which is approximately half the height of the globe. It's probably more. And we're seeing the same on this side in 4 minutes over here. So we're going upwards, and we've done the calculations before. It's about 60,000 miles an hour, straight up. And this is getting pulled from here. It's going to go. You see the waves get in the water, the ocean get this size because of the halt and the stop. That only is because these comets are stopping it all the way around. Bang, 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 stopping it as it's going around, stopping the planet going up so fast, because if it does, it breaks in half and gets exploded. That's exactly what happens if it hits the horizontal plane of the sun without stopping, without any assistance. It destroys the planet. That's what the lesson is here. We don't want that to happen, and they've told us how they do it. They move the landmass away from the equator. That helps the axis stand up straighter. They move the moon away from the Earth, which makes it go quicker and also stops the whipping speeds. They put water in the planet to make it twist quicker. They are all things they need to do to make sure that doesn't happen. I wanted to show you that, sir, because it is imperatively important you understand that the lift of our planet is at the pole. It's there, the North Pole. The pole change didn't happen when it was pushed out. So when it comes back up into the plane, the skew angle on the axis isn't there. It is like that. 34 minutes, it's moved over 8,000 miles straight up, and it's twisted in a speed in excess of 120,000 miles an hour. Upward speeds of over 60,000 miles an hour. Now, before I go on about the changing cycles of the Earth and the moon cycle, I wanted to come back here just for a second, because what we're seeing here is the moon, our moon, when it cycles the sun in sync and in line with Earth. Its movement in and out here is not always to the most inner ring. I've seen something that would appear to me, and I also had this, this theory already inside my head because of the days of a year in Mercury and Venus's rotation around the sun, that it's roughly 2.5 times one cycle of, or say 2.5 cycles of Mercury is one of Venus. But what we're seeing here is the moon does not always go to its most furthest away extremity here. The sequence is the length of time the same, but it's not always here. Sometimes Venus propels the Mars, or I should say, sometimes Venus propels the moon back from this point, back towards Earth, and sometimes it propels it from this point back towards Earth. So I wanted to let you know that that isn't always the case. When Venus isn't there in the cycle, it goes further into the inner ring to be driven by Mars back in the opposite direction. And if we look at how this is spinning, so the moon's coming this way, So I would expect then what we're going to see is the rotational speed of the moon in this sequence when it's moving in and out, that Mercury will break the rotation of the moon, and Venus will speed the rotation of the moon when it needs to be done, which would be 1 in every 3. If we look at that ratio of days over one cycle over the other, I would think 1 in every 3 cycles it will be going in here, or should 2 in every 3 to there, but 1 in every 3 to there. And I will show you another crop circle that reflects the same thing. This is the crop circle I saw. I'll be honest with you, I can't speak French, and it says down here, dot 3, France 3, who's de France? I don't know what that means, and I don't know if I spelled that or pronounced that word properly. I certainly did not do any other languages at school as a study. I did do French for a year, and I can tell you it was in first form at high school, and I remember as little as I possibly can. No disrespect intended to the French, but I certainly was intending to go and live in France, so I didn't learn the language. We see here 2 rings of rotation, and I believe this is what we're seeing in these arches here, and that the moon is not allowed to go in all the way every time, and this is reflecting the second ring. We're also saying here that there's 4, so 1 in every 4 is possibly the situation, right? So that's what I'm seeing here, that the moon is within 2 rings of rotation here. It's not always going in as far as it possibly can, and like I said, being slowed by the other rotation of the other planets, or sped, depending on which way it is when it hits them. I want to show you one other crop circle relative to the days in a month and the months in a year. I wanted to bring up this crop circle. This was more to do with the moon's movement away from Earth and the date it's going to happen. I have shown you on that rock of Australia the 3 or 6 marks, or I should say 5 marks at the bottom of it, that's saying in the middle of that 5th month is when it's taking away the moon. And that allows in November for us to have 6 weeks without the moon, where the planet is going very, very quickly through space, faster than it is now. And I actually think that's why they've got to have Atlantis around as the ocean as well, not just to suppress the ocean from tsunamis from the moving of the land masses, but that be the case. I believe this is showing us when this body comes in close to Earth here. This is why we've only got 1 dot on each one of these legs. And from the time it actually gets in here on the 16th, you see then we now have 2 or 3 dots in this location here, and we move away with 2 dots. So we're actually getting the moon moved away at this point here. It's actually the 16th of November. The 17th is the day it starts to move away. I'll do this inserted image now. It's got 17 on it. I've always thought that was the 1st of the 7th, that was the start of our 6 months, which was this month, July. I haven't seen anything chopping up landmass here, but it could be because President Trump, you haven't said anything. You know this is real. You know it's true. You've got an army that's bombed the bloody lines here for the last 50 years with atomic weapons. There is no denying, you know. And I am absolutely certain we are going past the date. There's a lot more planets around that body. By that look at that, this inserted image here, there's a lot more than 7 other bodies. There's more than one way to skin a cat, so they could come up here, pick up every one of us that they want, and have those planets ready by July, or I should say by December. In which case you want to do this with this satellites that you went out there to see Elon Musk's satellite service. So seriously, upstring that many, you know, for high-speed communications. Some people might buy that, but I'm not. I don't believe a word of it, not one. We have still not heard a word, not one. We see a lot of stuff on social media telling me that people are getting arrested, that tunnels are being closed down, we've got some COVID rubbish getting spread from one end of the globe to the other. The truth is the one thing we need spread on this globe from one to the other, not a virus, make-believe story. We need the truth told to everybody on the planet, sir. Please, President Trump, do your job properly and start now. This is yet another that reflects very, very similar thing to what I was just saying to you, in that we are looking at the 4 months of the year here, but we go from spring to summer, and this is the last 3 months when we're heading into here, and we're looking at right here. This is where the moon's going to get carted away. It's what's going to go down here. That's where it's going to happen. So it's the same thing again, was reflecting that it was going to be in mid-November that the other body came close enough to drag the Earth away. Once again, this is like I said, this is somebody else's image here. It's not mine. I don't make any money on my channel. It is purely and simply here for educational purposes to tell people while these are here. I actually put these back up on the website with an explanation as to what they mean to the people that put them up there, to give them an idea of what the hell's going on. But that's, once again, falls within that month of November again. When we look at the cycle in of the moon, we've already calculated that it is going 3, 4, 5 cycles in. So in other words, it's going to go from an outer ring here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is what we're seeing. The next time you come around, it's going to be the other one in the middle. And this is what I'm saying. It's a leap year in this cycle is getting every month of people born. That's what I'm saying. The cycle caters for every star sign. It's designed by humans. That's why they make sure every one of us are catered for. That is what we're seeing here, and I believe what we're seeing here is what I've also said to you about the inner ring being further in. Right? See how it got that like that? So that every other time it doesn't go all the way in, it stops here. So in other words, it'll come 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. So that's what I'm saying. That is what that's about. If we count the number of these around, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we've got 12 as well. But that is a cyclic thing. So in other words, the next month, it'll be another month this way. So that we're getting all the star signs. But like I said, that is also reflecting, in my opinion, the dual rings of the moon. So it doesn't always go in as far as it possibly can. Therefore, being spared or slowed in its rotation to achieve the objective. I will just for a second show you one of my concerns here. Excuse me, I'm just making myself a coffee. These are July, August, September, October, November, December. This is the month we're supposed to be getting the moon moved away. This is the month where our oceans will start to be, or not necessarily our oceans, because in actual fact this movement of landmass here starts to stand the Earth up straighter. But there's no landmass moving here, and this is July. I would expect that could say, well, that's why we brought in more planets, because we told you to start talking here, teaching. Lessons that I was giving here were supposed to be going out of my lounge room, outside of me doing it, by the communications I've had with the universities of all of Australia. I've had sites that university sites in Australia that I've linked all my files to, only to find them removed or not even posted up. I've had the rocks and images that I've shown you already to the Australian Geological Society without so much as even a returned call or anything, even from the upload, not even a comment. There are many, many, many people in our planet that have done nothing but lie from the day they took their first breath, I think, and I'm not seeing what I would have expected to see. I would have expected you, Sir President Trump, to open your mouth by now and tell the truth instead of this barbarous, pathetic, stupid behaviour that's going on in your country at the moment. It's ridiculous. We're supposed to be educated, intelligent people, and honestly, they look like a pack of crazy maniacs, and I'm not picking any one colour here. I'm saying the whole bloody lot. We're still sitting here without the truth, and you know full well it's the truth. It's ridiculous. So we've not got landmass moving here. This is July. I'm absolutely certain this is what's going down. We've had things crash out of the sky. Are they your satellites that you're getting to try and cycle higher? You did go there, sir. You went there to Elon Musk's. Why are you there? If you know why it's going up. Now if we look at this inserted image, just again, the top of this parchment shows 4 legs by 11, 4 legs by 12. What we're doing is we're saying that there is a 48,000 year cycle, which is pretty much what we're doing at the moment, plus a 4,000 year cycle. That 4,000 year cycle is just tacked in right here, right now, right where we are. It's not at the end of another 16,000 years. It's right here and right now. If it's going to be there, it's here, at this point. It could be that it doesn't always happen, because depending on what the people on the planet who are running the thing do, once they realise that a person like me, who is not a Masonic lodge, remember, I've never been in a moronic lodge, I call them that because it is nothing more than moronic to keep the history of the world and mankind from its inhabitants. It is like pathetic. So I call them moronic lodges, and I've had people come up to me that are Grand Masons and said, oh, is the one in the central? I said, no, it's not. It's the one in the bottom of South America that tilted the axis. The one in Central America stopped it. So I have had Grand Masons come up and talk to me. It's amazing what happens when you come across the secrets of mankind. I wanted to bring back us point to here to understand what this 4,000 year cycle does. The Earth is coming along here, rotating anti-clockwise around the Sun. It gets hit on top and lays the planet over flat like that. From that point, the cycle of the Earth around the Sun does not stop, and the pivot, excuse me while I walk in front of the camera, the pivot of the location of Earth, so in other words Earth right in front of here, what it does is it changes the plane of rotation of Earth, so it skews and it starts to go like this around the Sun like this. Right? Now when that happens, it's quite the opposite than the 6,000 years we just finished. The 6,000 year cycle we had was with our Earth standing up here with a 24-degree tilt. Right? The pivot started over here, at 90 degrees away from the point of impact. That's what happens. So what happens when that happens with the standing globe is it's the middle of the cycle on our 6,000 year cycle where the Earth is, and you cannot live on it. You're having the sun rise and set. You're going upwards here, down here, upwards here for 3 months. You're getting full sun, full dark. There's nobody living on this planet here. There's a civilization 3,000 years ago. It's impossible. The Aboriginals, I believe, were left here and went north. And as I would say, like I said, the African tribes, they're the only ones that can live here. I'm not kidding. We can't even live without a roll of toilet paper. We haven't got to see what's going on now. There is nobody living on our planet 3,000 years ago. Where that differs from the 4,000 year cycle, when it's laid flat, it's tipped over in the direction of its movement. It's tipped forward, it lays flat. Once it's laid flat, it is in actual fact, the pivot point is here where it actually happens, not out here. The pivot point from here when it happens already has this flat like so, that you're within 3 months, you've got full darkness because you're out here. And then 3 months over here, 3 months here. So you're actually doing the middle of our cycle at the beginning and the start of the 4,000 year cycle. I will show you where that 4,000 year cycle, like I said, the only livable part is when that plane's lifted up here a bit. Once it's lifted up here, it is this portion of the 4,000 year cycle where you can live on Earth, because it's laid flat like this and its rotation around the sun is like so. It's going this way. So that's what we're doing here. It does the same thing. It's like the middle of the other cycle. Excuse me once again, walking in front of there. The situation is that when that gets up the top of the sun here, and the cycle's gone and this plane of rotation moved to here, we are now sitting up here spinning like this, so we're getting a good day, 24-hour day, we're getting an ability to live in this part here. But when we're up here, it actually stops. The planet doesn't stop turning, nor does it stop rotating around the sun. But what does stop is this. When this plane of rotation swivels at that point, with it laid flat, it gets to that point in the cycle and stops. Doesn't stop this rotation around the sun, doesn't stop the rotation of the Earth, it stops the movement of this plane. This stops. I'll show you how I know that. There is 6,000 years. It takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 years. The 4,000 years from that point forward is a cycle where people are on the planet. These two here are beyond Mars. This is the end of the cycle. This 1,000 and this 1,000 years is with the Earth laid flat. The whole cycle here is laid flat. The Earth is laying over like this, still spinning in the same direction. What happens here, and this part here and this part here, is how the Earth is laid flat and how it changes the direction of rotation on the axis. Is always going in the direction like this as we are going now. But what it does is it lays flat and goes like that. Now, when I stand it back up, I'm spinning clockwise. And that's how that is achieved. And it is in that 2,000 years to get to that point, which is why it has E here. It's the end of the cycle. This 4,000 years here, and as you can see here, there is one impact to move it out of the plane. But here we have 3. Here we have 3, and here we have 3. The 3 are always used to put a tilt on the axis. So what it means is halfway through this plane, this is off plane. This is doing rotations around the sun with the moving plane, as I've told you. We have 3 halfway through the 4,000 years here because it's got to the top above the sun, where I've told you, and stopped. It stopped because it actually physically cannot move through above the top of the sun or the bottom of the sun because the plane of angle is straightened out. That has to be tilted there, like so again, to get through to complete it. These are also here 25, 26, 27 hour day is what we have when the planet is going around the sun in an when the planet is going around the sun in a clockwise direction, which is what it was doing 6,000 years ago. It was still spinning in an anti-clockwise direction on its axis. That, and the mean it stops there, I would also mean that, in my opinion, an inability to have anything cycle from pole to pole can create a magnetic field to stop this movement. What you're doing, if that's what it is not going to work. The movement of the mass of Earth is pulled away directly up, and is because the pole shift did not happen when it was pushed away from the horizontal plane. Now the only other thing I will show you at this point is these images here. If we look at them, appear to be gears. They are made of stone because they are in actual fact reflecting what I've already shown you in the rotation of the planets to drive the moon in and out. These, I would depict, are exactly that, just showing you that it's like a gear case or a gear train to in actual fact initiate the rotation of the planet moon. Well, it's a planet moon. Because it's not going to be a moon anymore if it's in actual fact rotating around the sun. It too is then a planet, is it not? So the planet moon is now going to operate like that, and that's why you see these megalithic gears as such, because it in actual fact runs like a gear train. I think I'll finish off with that today, and like I said, I have asked you once again, President Trump, please, the time is now, the time for truth is now. Get on TV, and they've got no way of doing any more of this pathetic behaviour, and quite frankly, what's going on in your country at the moment is the very, very worst of mankind's behaviour. But I'll be honest with you, sir, it's been driven out of your country for a long time. It is time to pull your countrymen out of the sewer they live upon, sir. Expose it and close it, and do it now, please. Because I can assure you there is more than enough bodies up there for them to pick up everybody they want and let you catch your comets. I hope you make the right decisions. I fear you have gone beyond the time frame allocated. That's all from Brian Whitten and ET Art. Thank you very much.